Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Murray. I hope you are doing well and having a wonderful day. I wanted to make this video to show you some of the basic functions in Soundtrap and how the platform is organized. So you can see here that I have a finished project with a number of tracks. So you can see on the left that I have a number of different instruments and tracks in this project. If I wanted to, I could go to this bottom right corner and I can click on this plus button or the zoom in so that I can see what's going on a little bit better. If I look at the top here, you can see numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just like if we were reading a piece of music, these are measure numbers. So these are measures or bars of music. And similar to sheet music, this is how we would organize our projects. So you can see I can move this cursor as I click along the top grid there. And you can see this icon is highlighted. And this is what we call a snap to grid or a snap. So what this means is that if I were to try to move one of these individual tracks, so I'll try to move this piano track, you can see that it's kind of like snapping into place or not moving smoothly, right? If I turn this off, you can move freely throughout the track. You can change the size of your grid. So right now, my grid is on a quarter note, which is that 1/4. I can change it to a whole note. So you can see the division of beat went away up here, and all I'm seeing are measures. And if I try to move this track, so you'll see it jumps by entire measures. I can change this to half note, dotted half note, quarter note. And if I needed to get even more particular, and look at subdivisions, I can go to an 8th note, 16th note, 32nd, so on and so forth. So let's put this on an 8th note, and we can move that back. Now, generally, I'm a fan of using the snap to grid function just because it ensures that when you're recording, you're beginning at the start of the measure or beat 1. But depending on the project and what you're recording, you may need to turn the snap function off so that you can edit audio, more precisely or split a region or anything like that. So that's our grid function. And as you can see up here, I have the division of beat back. So it's showing me quarter notes, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is measure 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning of this piece and let's just take a listen. Okay, you can pause and play and stop using the spacebar, which tends to be a little bit easier than using your mouse. So let's look at each individual track here. You can see we have a number of different commands. The R is to enable for recording. So if there was a track that you were using to record vocals or an instrumental part, you would want to make sure that record is enabled and then come down here and hit record. Each track has its own volume setting, so you can turn an individual track up or down. This might be helpful when we're trying to blend different instruments together or balance a project. This is our solo button. So when I hit this, you'll see that everything else becomes shaded and it's muted. So if I played, I'm only hearing that track, and you can have more than one track soloing. You can also mute a track. So what that means is if I were playing this entire piece here, I can mute certain tracks. This last button here is for what we call automation. And I actually created another video on that, as it's maybe more of a complex function in Soundtrap. So if you're interested about automation, check out that video. If we come to the bottom of the page here, we already talked about the record button. So anytime you need to record, make sure you hit that and that your track is enabled. We have our cursor that brings us back to the beginning, our stop button, and then other navigation tools that jump by measure, and then of course your play button. We have our project key. So this is an A minor, but you can see that we have all of the keys. Tempo, so the speed of the piece. So this is 100 beats per minute, but you can adjust that either by slowing it down, speeding it up, or using tap tempo. So if you hit T on your Chromebook or your keyboard, you can see that it adjusted the tempo, and I would just need to confirm that. Next to that, we have our metronome. So the metronome is currently off. If I were to turn this on, you would hear it when we do playback. You can hear that kind of hi-hat sound. Next to the metronome is settings. And you can change the tone of your metronome. So you can do a click, tick. We were on the hi-hat or a clave. So it kind of depends on what you can hear best and what works for you. You can adjust your metronome volume. So if you play a louder instrument or you're performing a louder section of a piece, you might want to turn the metronome up. And then of course your countin. I always recommend using a countin just because it helps you get a feel for the piece and the tempo and helps you prepare for recording. Now it might depend on your project whether or not you use the metronome. Generally, as musicians, the metronome is our friend. But if we are recording something that maybe has a ritardando or changes tempos, the metronome might maybe be more of a hindrance. So it'll just depend on what your project is and what it calls for. Next, I would like to bring your attention, if you look in this upper right-hand corner, to this purple eighth note icon, and we open this, you'll see that Soundtrap has a really extensive loop library with tons of options. So let's just play a few of these. And then you can also organize by instrument. So let's listen to a few piano ones. Let's try a few of the beats. Let's see. And let's say I found a loop that I really liked and I want to add it to a project. What I can do is you can actually just double click the loop and it adds it to your project. So you can see here that this loop is 8 measures long and that it functions in 4-bar phrases. So you can see that we have one phrase here. It kind of like dips down, and then the second phrase. So let's take a listen. I'm going to solo this so we only hear this track, and let's listen. Okay, so that's our loop, and if I wanted that to continue throughout an entire piece or throughout a project, I would hover over this cycle icon, click on it, and then just drag, and you can bring that however far you would like it to be in your song. One other thing to be mindful of when working in Soundtrap is the loop option at the top. So this can be great if you need to really isolate a section and listen to it a few times, or you're trying to practice a certain line and you just want to focus on a few measures that you're having a tough time. But when you're recording, this could become frustrating if you don't realize it's on. So what this does is when I reach the end of this loop, it's going to cycle back. Now, again, this is an awesome option if you're really trying to focus in on a section of music and practice and hear it. But if you're recording, this could be problematic if you need to keep going and then it cycles back. So you just click that, or you can click here and you'll see that turns the loop or the cycle on. One other thing that I'd like you to know, just as you're getting started, is that Soundtrap does not automatically save. So like when you're working in Google or on a Google Doc, it auto saves for you. Soundtrap does not. So you're going to want to make sure to save often throughout your project or recordings. It would be awful if you did a lot of work and then you lost Wi-Fi connection or your Chromebook battery died. And you lost all of your work. So be sure to save often so that you don't lose any of your progress. One other thing that I'll show you on a track is if you hover in the top right corner of the track, you'll see 3 dots. This might help you organize projects, especially if there's a number of different instruments or individuals in one project. So you can rename a track. So your director might want you to name a track with your name so they know it's your recording. They might want you to label it with your instrument or however else they would like to organize the project. Another thing you can do is actually color code your different tracks. So it'll show better up here. So let's say you wanted to, all of the flutes in a project, you want green. All of the clarinets in a project, you want red. So there's a number of different ways that you can organize the project to make it flow a little bit easier and to help your overall navigation of the window or the platform. So that's kind of what I would like to show you as we get started. I hope this wasn't too overwhelming. We will continue to make videos to help you out, and do know that there are a number of video tutorials and frequently asked questions on soundtrap.com. There's also a lot of helpful videos on YouTube. And then, of course, reach out to your directors if you have any questions at all. We're happy to help and we're here for you. So I hope you enjoy using Soundtrap. Your directors, we are all so excited to hear all of the awesome music you make this semester, and I am sure I can speak for all of them that if you do create songs on your own using the loops or recording, we would love to hear what you're doing in Soundtrap, and just hope that you really have fun using this program. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.